In 313 BC, a Phoenician merchant named Zeno of Citium watched everything he owned sink into the Aegean Sea. His cargo, purple dye, one of the most valuable commodities in the ancient world, was gone in an afternoon. Not gradually lost, gone.
He was not a philosopher. He was a trader. He had spent his adult life on ships and in warehouses, calculating risk, moving goods between Cyprus and Athens. The storm didn't just take his fortune. It erased the entire architecture of who he was. Most men in that position retreated. Zeno walked into Athens. And what happened next is either the strangest coincidence in the history of ideas, or proof that certain minds are just waiting for the right kind of catastrophe to open them.
He wandered into a bookshop. A man was reading aloud from Xenophon's Memorabilia, a record of Socrates' conversations. Zeno sat down and listened. He had never encountered anything like it. He turned to the bookseller and asked where he could find men like the ones being described. The bookseller pointed to the street. Crates of Thebes, a cynic philosopher, happened to be walking past at that exact moment. The bookseller said, "Follow him." Zeno followed. He studied under Crates for years, then under others. He was not a prodigy collecting credentials. He was a man with a hole where his identity used to be, filling it with something harder and more permanent than money. Around 300 BC, Zeno began teaching in the Stoa Poikile, the painted porch, a public colonnade in Athens. He didn't rent a school. He taught in the open air to anyone who stopped to listen. That choice was not accidental.
The school that grew from those conversations took its name from the porch, Stoicism, and from the very beginning, it was structured around a single uncomfortable premise, that almost everything you think you need is not actually necessary.
Zeno drew a clean line between what he called things up to us, judgment, intention, response, and everything else, wealth, reputation, health, other people's opinions. All of it landed on the far side of the line. Irrelevant to virtue. Irrelevant to a good life. This sounds extreme until you remember where it came from. A man who lost everything and discovered in the months that followed that he was still capable of thought, still capable of choice, still capable of building something. The shipwreck proved the theory before the theory existed.
That is what makes Stoicism structurally different from most ancient schools. Epicurus was teaching people how to maximize tranquility. Plato was mapping ideal forms in a world beyond this one. Zeno was asking a harder question. What holds when the ground gives way? The philosophy spread, and it attracted exactly the people you would expect. Men under pressure. Epictetus was a slave. Marcus Aurelius was running an empire through plague and war. Seneca wrote his sharpest letters while waiting to learn if Nero would have him executed. None of them came to Stoicism looking for comfort. They came because it was the only framework that didn't require favorable conditions. Every other system of meaning tends to crack when the circumstances crack. Stoicism was built in a crack. It was load-bearing from the start.
Notice what Zeno never promised. He did not say the philosophy would return what the storm took. He did not say virtue would be rewarded with prosperity, or that right thinking would produce right outcomes. He said, strength of character is the only thing a storm cannot touch.
That distinction matters enormously. Strength, not ease. The Stoics were not optimists. They were people who had looked at what life actually does to people and decided to build their footing somewhere the waves couldn't reach. Zeno's shipwreck is not a colorful backstory. It is the proof of concept. A man lost everything external and then spent 40 years demonstrating that the internal was enough. Enough to think, to teach, to build a school that outlasted Athens itself by 2,000 years. The question worth sitting with is not whether you agree with Stoicism. The question is whether you've ever had your own version of that storm, and what you found still standing when it passed. That inventory is where philosophy stops being academic and starts being useful.